name's Dan Robinson, founder of Farm R. I'm a farmer's son from Northumberland. A few years ago, I took a job in the agri-supply industry, which involved me visiting lots of farms over a very wide area. And it gave me a real helicopter view of the industry, some real insight that I hadn't had before. And that allowed me to come up with the idea for Farm R. So, for example, I'd be on a farm, and I'd be ploughing in the field, and I'd visit a farm a few miles down the road, and their plough was stored in the shed. Or I'd be in a valley, and everybody would be making silage, and I'd go to the next door valley, and nobody's making silage, and all of their kit is stored in the shed. So there appeared to be this disconnect, which it occurred to me that if I could create a technology solution that could connect these guys really, really easily, then that could be transformative if it allowed them to share machinery without any friction. So that turned into Farm R, farmer-to-farmer rental. So this is the problem that we're solving. It's the underutilization of machinery across the whole of agriculture. So every year, UK farms spend £2 billion a year on new farm machinery. We know a lot of that machinery isn't used as much as it could be, and that's borne out in the data. So the return on capital employed, 2016, was minus 0.7%, which is a terrible return on such a huge investment. So if you drill down into the data further, you can see what the main culprits might be. So the average tractor utilization, so this is the most versatile and utilizable of all machinery on a farm. It's only used for 30% of the working week. Okay, so that gets you thinking. And then if you look at more seasonal machinery, so silage and kit, if a farm owns its own silage machinery, then it's likely only using it 15% of the applicable season. So there's 85% lost productivity there. And I think farming the way it is now, you can't look at those figures and think that nothing needs changed about that. Obviously, a lot of people use contractors, but they actually feel the pain too. So they extend their seasonality by dealing with lots of different farms, but they do tend to work in this localized area, and they tend to grow through word of mouth, which in itself is inherently inefficient. They tend to bias one type of farm system over another, so they have suboptimal utilization in their machinery too. And we've just become used to scenes like this, so machinery, it's quite normal to see machinery just stored for most of the year, even just in fields around the back of the shed. If you actually look at this with an open mind, this is obviously inefficient, but we think that this latent sort of stock of machinery that's out there, unused, is a hugely untapped resource. And this is why something like Farm R can work. So most farmers tend to use similar kinds of machinery, but they do actually use it at different times of the year. And this is the bit that's sometimes counterintuitive. So the chart on your left there shows the full season for combinable crops harvest in the country. So that's about 10 weeks long. So if you combine for 4 or 5 weeks a year even, you could still double the productivity of all of your harvesting kit if you can just be connected to farmers with a different seasonality. Chart on the right shows the amount of a particular crop planted in each region of the country. The white bar shows the acreage in each region. Now the blue bar shows the progress through that crop on a given day. So this snapshot in time shows that all of these farmers use exactly the same machinery, but they're definitely using it at different times. So this is our solution, Farm R. It's an online platform that allows farmers to really easily share machinery and services. So it connects them without friction, and that's the important thing, so they can have farmer-to-farmer rental. And this is how we are going to revolutionize agriculture. So we're going to take this current situation where you've got surplus machinery on most farms, and we're going to transform it into one where anybody who uses Farm R can actually own less machinery, but you can have on-demand access to whatever you need just by mobilizing underutilized kit in your local area. And that's going to make everybody who uses Farm R much more efficient. Currently, there is an over-reliance on contractors. So we need to use contractors. They do a great service. But FarmR puts farmers in control. It gives you various options in all situations. So you can say, if you've got spare labor at a certain time of year, you can hire in a trailer or hire in a post knocker and go and do some work on your own. Or you can supplement what a contractor does, so you can rent in a tractor and a trailer and help out at harvest. Or you could even search for the best contractor locally at the right price. So you can use the platform to do that as well. And so the model we're using, it's a familiar disruption model. So it's a two-sided marketplace allowing asset sharing. This same model's already been used to disrupt transportation, taxis, if anybody uses Uber. It's already been used to disrupt home ownership, hotels, Airbnb, and now we're using that exact same model to disrupt agriculture. So our product journey. So a little over a year ago, I had the idea, but I had a day job. So I worked every night and every weekend developing the business plan, and eventually moved on to building a simple version of the product, so a minimum viable product. I then needed to see what the market thought of that, so I started tweeting the idea, tweeting the proposition out there, leading people to a landing page and then to the actual MVP, and got a tremendous response. So that's a snapshot of Google Analytics showing people logging into FarmR all over the country, which was tremendous to see because it told me that it wasn't appealing to just one type of farm system, not one particular area. It had really broad appeal. So I knew I had something here and I needed to really give it some time to explore it. So I actually quit my job. I built a small team and developed the product to what we have now, which is, it's still very simplistic, version 1 of FarmR. So this was released, it must be September, I think. So it's, as you can see, it's very simplistic, totally intuitive. You just key in what you're looking for, where you are, and it will produce results in order of proximity, so you know what's nearby that you can rent. You can search with an operator, without, so it could fit most people's situations. And if you want to rent out something, you can do so in literally 30 seconds to a minute. If you want to rent in any machinery, just browse the listings, click through into a listing, look at the photographs, look at the videos, and then choose when you, the dates that you want to use it, and then click request to rent. So it's kind of, it works like many other sites. The important thing is just to make it super easy to use. That'll take you through to the payment page. Now, no payment's taken at this stage, this just validates payment. So you just put in your card details, or you can even use the app to scan your credit card, so it takes all the friction out of that as well. That then sends a request to the owner of the machine. So he receives an email, but they know that if that email's been sent, then payment's already been validated. So if they click accept within the email, payment's transferred straight away. So that takes away a lot of the worry about dealing with people that you haven't dealt with before, and it really builds trust. Because of that prepayment sort of system we've got, we're really aiming at short-term rentals. So it's a trailer for a few days next week, or it's a loader to help move some bales, or a post knocker, this sort of thing. We'll be moving on to facilitating much longer term and larger transactions in our next stage of development. And then once the rental's complete, both parties review each other. And this is a really important part of the process because it really weeds out any bad actors. So people are always worried about if somebody's not good to deal with, what do we do about it? Well, they'll get one bad review and then nobody will deal with them again. And likewise, just like Airbnb, if you have great ratings, then you're going to get more business. So it's a way of people setting up their own little thing on the side, or they could really be entrepreneurial and set up a whole business on the platform and use this as their marketing channel. Everything we do is mobile first, so it should be really simple to use. I'm always getting feedback from any users, any interaction, because we're developing the site all of the time, and it's important to always keep moving and be led by the farmer. It's totally free to list as many listings as you like, and we just take a small commission once you generate revenue. So we have to add value to your farm in order to earn anything at all. And the ethos of the whole thing is that we want to turn that trailer that's stored around the back of the shed into cash to then, affect your business. A question I'm always asked, so insurance and health and safety, these are obviously really important parts of the product. For this, we have an online and an offline hybrid solution. So online, very simply, within your listing, you state how much you need it to be insured for and whether you need a security deposit. And then the online part, when somebody comes to collect the machine, they just bring their insurance documents to prove they've got adequate insurance. And you can call the company up, you can do any checks you like, but you only release the machine when you're happy. And so it's this sort of an enforced offline part of the process, which is really important, because at the end of the day, you're renting out your quite expensive, a lot of them, assets. So you've got to meet the person face to face before you do that. So that's important. The great thing about Farmer is that the timing is exactly right now. So a product like this might not have worked so well maybe 5 or 10 years ago, certainly. But now internet access is pretty good in most rural areas, and it's improving all the time. Internet's used in every farm business just like it is everywhere else. But the real key point is that the millennial generation are coming through now. So there's this generational shift in farming. These young farmers coming through, starting businesses, taking over farms, they're completely mobile native. So using a tool like Farmer in regular business is just an obvious thing to do. So because we're the first movers in the UK, we're the only people doing this, we're one of the only companies in the world doing it, in fact, we've had some nice PR so far. There's been a lot of interest. We've had coverage in the farming press there, NFU magazine, which was great to see. Even by surprise, something called the Bolsamir, there's probably not any regular readers here, that's a Portuguese farm magazine. They did an article on it. At the risk of sounding like Alan Partridge, we were on Radio Suffolk. He was Norfolk, but it's similar. And then Agri-Innovation Den, it's like Dragon's Den, but for farm stuff. So we were finalists in that as well, which was really great. And so this is where we are right now. There's a snapshot of the app pretty much as it is today. People are listing machinery all over the country, which is just incredible to see. But we've got an awful long way to go. So there's some large gaps between listings. So we now need to focus our time on building real density everywhere. So basically it's the go-to place for all machinery needs, and that's how we'll facilitate on-demand farming, that's the overarching way we're trying to change the industry. So we need to spend an awful lot of time on the ground, just getting new members and getting new listings. Here's a sort of a typical avatar of our user. Ben, he's a young farmer up in Northumberland, starting out. He rents out his gator, he rents in bits and bobs to use on the farm. And looking at our analytics behind the site, we really are tapping that millennial generation. So it's kind of proving itself out as we thought. Although there is a full range, there's definitely a high point in the millennials. And also, it's interesting to see that 86% of all people who come on the site do so by mobile. So it's important to have it work really well on all formats, but it's performing as expected on mobile as well. And then really the overarching thing is that we just feel that we're in a very good position. So the timing is just perfect for what we're doing. Only the most efficient farms are going to survive in the long term. Farmer is a tool that allows any farmer to use it either a little or a lot, and the net result will always be that they'll become more lean and more agile and more sustainable in the future. So that's what we're trying to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for that.